Hey everybody, I'm Suzanne. Today's video is a really kind of special little painting in that it's a little, basically sepia portrait of a mother holding a child. Now, I had a client come in just before I was getting ready to go on a trip, and my mind was already in trip mode. And she came in with this tiny, itty bitty little photograph of her mom holding her brother and herself in this little photo. And I'm going to show you the photo now. I blew it up big so you can see it, but you can see this was the photo reference that I had, and she wanted me to take her out of the picture because she wanted this to be all about her brother Mike, and she's giving this as a gift for his big birthday. He has a big birthday coming up, and she wanted to present this to him for his birthday. And I'm going to show you the painting that I did. And I did this painting using only two colors, titanium white and sepia. And I like how it turned out. And I actually had Linda come into the studio and critique it before, because there's, as you can see from the photograph, it's all blurry. It's really, really hard to discern what I'm looking at. You see how blurry? It's blurry. So I needed her to kind of, check it out. And she said, at first there were some things, the eyes were a little off, and maybe it needed to be lightened up, but they needed it to look like mom, right? So she was happy when it was all said and done. You'll see here in the video when she gets to take a look. But here we go, and I'm going to take you step by step on the process of doing this little portrait. So thank you for joining me. And if you are my subscribers, of course, as always, thank you for subscribing. Consider becoming a member on my channel, and you can get some really good little things going on there. And if perhaps you are looking for a painting mentor or a coach, check out that membership program. The upper platform will really help you out a lot with critiques and all kinds of good stuff. So let's go ahead and jump into this little portrait. So I have this commission, and I was asked to do a very small, this is a 6x8 super slick substrate, and they wanted this black and white photograph, basically blown up. If you had seen the original photograph, it was like this big. It was itty bitty. So I have a very unfocused, it's blurry, and the photo reference that I'm working from, it's of a mother holding a child, obviously, and it was a sister that wanted to give this gift to her little brother, who is this little guy here. And their mother just recently passed away. So this is very meaningful to this family. And so what I'm gonna do, I did a sketch, I have a drawing of basically this on here, and I'm gonna do a wash over it. Hopefully my graphite stays put. And I'm using sepia. And I'm just going to cover this whole thing with sepia. And I'm hoping it'll do what I want it to do. So if I cover the whole thing, and I can wipe out the areas of the lighter colors. So I get that kind of covered like that. And I'm just gonna take a brush and kind of wipe out. So I know his little hat is very light. And I can take a little bit of paint thinner and just kind of suggest where this is going. Sanger, my dog, is the light area behind her head. So I'm just taking paint off, and I'm gonna make basically the shape here. Oh, Sanger. Sorry, my dog is like rubbing his face on me. I had gone out of town for a little bit, and he is very clingy. So I'm just trying to see, excuse me, I have a dog on my back. All right, so if I can keep my dog from pushing me down here. He's just really pushing. So there's a lot of dark values, and like I said, this is just a black and white photograph. So I am looking at this with my eyes sort of closed. And so there's areas here. Her arm is like middle tone, and I'm not going to take too much off of her arm. Her dress is very light here. like a necklace on. Now this side of her head is a little bit lighter than the other side. She's got a little light area here, a little light area here. And I'll have to use a smaller brush to do some of this. So I'm really just trying to get all the dark values at this point. And so I kind of established a mid-tone by doing the wash. And now I am putting in where I see dark values. I'm not trying to, what am I trying to say? Second guess what I see. I'm only just painting what I see. Hopefully when I'm done, it will make sense. To me anyway. And I'm looking for shapes. You can see I'm using, this brush happens to be a number 2 Rosemary Purse Sable, series 99. Hang on, my dog is upset about something. What are you upset about, bud? What are you crying about? You saw another dog? Did you see another dog outside? Well, sometimes other dogs go for walks. Just like you went for a walk. This is her thumb, and the baby's hand kind of comes up. And there's things that I'm not really sure what I'm looking at, but I'm not going to try to guess what it is. There's shadows and odd shapes. Shapes. Very dark on the outside part of her arm. Once I've kind of established where the lighter values are, I'm going back in and establishing where all the really dark values are. And I'll be able to fill in with the different tones that I create with the sepia and titanium white paint. You know, I just have to kind of move around. And obviously the left side of the picture is a lot darker. Now, again, these folks are looking straight into some really bright sunlight and they're squinting. And there's all kinds of interesting shadows on the back wall, you know, all this good stuff. But it makes it kind of fun and interesting. Just like so many of the old time black and white photos that we probably all have in a box somewhere in our house.
of our family. And yeah, I just want to bring this one to life for them. So I am just putting in the dark values, and I have to create the clapboard and the windows and all that good stuff. But that's what's going in here. And eventually I just keep building up from the light value, then I put in the dark value, and then I work all the middle tones and tweak my shapes as I move along throughout this painting. Okay, so I mixed just using these two colors. This is the Sepia from Sennelier and just the titanium white from Blue Ridge Paints. I mixed an array, if you will, of values of these colors. So, you know, here I've got the kind of a darker value, and it just kind of graduates up. This, believe it or not, is not the whitest white, but since I'm doing this in sepia tones, I really wanted to keep it pretty consistent to what the actual photo reference has. Now keep in mind, the photo reference, it was like an itty bitty picture that has been blown up because I wanted a 6x8. So there are their own challenges there, is trying to make this a believable black and white photo, you know, enlarged. You know, and I even asked my client, why don't you just get the photo enlarged? And she really just wanted to keep it as close to what it originally was. And I can respect that. So now we're gonna start laying some paint in. And since we have all these values, of course, this side of the painting is a little darker. I kind of wish I had a little bit more dry time, but alas, I do not. So I may actually work on the subjects here as opposed to working on the background first. And I can see from here, there's some rounding out and things that I need to do here. And I'll find just exactly the right brush. So I'm gonna start, and I'm gonna use, this happens to be a number 2 Eclipse Long Filbert. I'm just gonna start in this area. And I'm gonna go back to some of my darker paints. And I really wanna get this right, since this mom is all since passed away. And I want to try to keep it as true to her look as I can. And a lot of it is subject to change simply because I'm only going by with what I see. And it's really kind of hard to see because it's all, I'm doing it more very much in the Scudo way here. Just the very black and, light and dark here. I'm trying to get the shapes the way I see it. And so a lot of it is kind of subject to guessing here. Because it does go very straight through here. And as it is, I've already blown this up a lot. So it's hard to really see. Just kind of popping it in. Sometimes it's hard too just to tell where a shadow from back here on this board goes and where her hair starts. Yeah, it all kind of goes together. I just hope that I honor this mother and son as best I can. I have spent my morning with a bunch of 4th graders today, which was really refreshing because it's been a long time since I've been around 4th grader. And I talked about our carousel here in Kingsport, so that was kind of fun. Just really concentrating on the angles here. Oops, that's too fat. I don't want to make her look fat because no girl wants to look fatter than she needs to look if she can help it. So if I'm working on the inside, I can take a clean brush and just kind of wipe that down a little bit, just like that. Took a few pounds off. I'm going to go with mid-tone, this darker mid-tone here. Start laying in some of her scalp. Still looking for straight lines, and I can actually start layering some of the paint. Now that I'm using, because the Sennelier's Sepia is a transparent color, I think. And I say I think because I couldn't see on the tube where it said it. So there's that. And there's a lot darker here. So I'll be able to do some blending here in a minute, but I'll go in with the darker color here. Same here, there's a darker color here. Now I can start to do actual blending and stuff. I want to try to get this face as close to what's probably accurate. The chin. I'm going to have to use my small brush again. But let's get some of this other area here. Go a little bit lighter here on this side. She's got a little set of pearls, if you will, a necklace. We'll get that in there in a minute. So, you know, I'm always going to work from the back, from the darker color to the lighter color. And by using the Eclipse brushes, they're a soft brush, and I can get that softer look with the blend on this. And she has a darker color here before the baby's wrist. So we're going to put some more of the darker here, this part of her arm. It goes darker here. Top of her arm looks a little darker too. Goes up here, comes down. So we're starting to get that form and shape. Now, if I wanted to really look at her dress, I'm going to go with a little bit lighter color here. But I'm not going to go with the whitest white yet. Because it seems to me, by looking at this, the lightest light is basically all over the dress and the child. But I can always go lighter. And there's lots of shadows, so I'm trying to play them off of each other here. I'm going to put this necklace. And it's actually a pretty big necklace. And it gets whiter as it comes closer around here. So we can go in with a lighter color here. Going with a much lighter color. Areas like this of her wrist. Oops, that's too light. So this is actually her hand, her arm, but there's shadows. The baby's hand is creating a shadow on her arm. So I'm going to go underneath here. Go in with this little lighter color here. I was just getting ready to go on a trip, and my brain was already, I was already on my trip when this woman came into the studio and asked if I could do this as a portrait. Somebody, one of the artists galleries across the way had recommended me, which I'm very grateful for. But I was not thinking in my mind that during the time frame that she had to get this one done, I thought, I can't get this done in that kind of time. And so I'm doing my best to make this happen for her. And I said, but look, I'm getting ready to go on a trip. I won't be back. I can't even start it until it's going to be a while. And I told her I'd try. So that's what we're doing. We're trying. We'll get it done. No worries. I'm just kind of getting in here. So I'm always looking at angles and slim down her neck or her face a little bit because I'm looking at negative space. Face, and it's hard to see it, and I'm only can imagine what I'm looking at. So I am going to do some of this here. I see these triangles. I probably should switch to a smaller brush. I'm going to go back in. This is the 0 red dot, which is for those those who don't remember, it happens to be a synthetic sable. And I'm going in pretty light here. And I can blend. I'm trying to keep a light hand. That's the bridge of her nose and this area of her. Going with a mid-tone. A darker mid-tone. Must be installing something across the way, like a sign or something. Oh yeah, they got a sign going up, another sign. Store across the street is putting in a new sign. Okay, so I'm kind of folding, kind of sculpting out her face a little bit. And I got this a little too white, so I'm going to lighten it, darken it up a little bit. Her bridge of her nose. I don't want her to look like a monster. Lighten it up in some of the areas here. I think her mouth, I think she has her mouth open, and it's really hard to see from this picture. I'm gonna go get my other picture and just check. After going back and forth between the two blown up versions of the photograph, I kind of determined that yes, her mouth is open. It's not necessarily a reflection or shine on her lip. And I'm just really trying to get these edges and shapes. And I can only go by shapes. That's how I have to look at this, because I know it doesn't appear that foggy or fuzzy in the video, but it really was. And it was hard to determine the actual lines and shapes. But I was getting it. I was getting it. So remember, folks, if you have any questions about anything I covered in today's video, just go ahead and leave in the comment section. I'll get to you. But remember, this is just a value study, really. And using the sepia tone paint makes this wonderful. The sepia offers kind of a greener cast as opposed to just a gray, black and white version. And I really prefer it over just using a black and white. And so I just have to kind of get some of the background in so I can paint, have my soft edges. But I'm just going around looking for shapes. What was interesting is when I was in the middle of this painting, what I thought was the baby's knee was actually the mother's knuckles of her hand. I didn't see it that way. And it's funny, I just was going by shapes, right? So once I actually was painting it, I realized this is the mother's hand. It's funny little things like this that didn't happen or occur to me until well into the painting. So now that I have everything kind of established, I can go back in and start doing the clapboard and the windows and that sort of thing. Perspective is a tough one for me, and obviously I've got to fix that window. But you'll see, I'll work it all out in the end. But I'm just getting all the just different values, and we've got kind of like a shadow of the trees in the background. So I'm just going to suggest that too, because I think that's kind of cool. But it's coming along, and I really am enjoying this piece. And I was very, very fortunate in having my client come in today and give me an overall critique, because it's her mom, right? And this is a gift for her brother. And I need to make sure this mom is right, since the mother has just passed away in the last couple of years. And I've got to make it right. This has got to look like their mom. So I was very fortunate in having Linda come by. Go over and take a look. Go over and take a look and see what you think. Because now we've made a couple corrections. Yes. Go ahead and go get closer. Linda, get closer.
I love it, and you can see, so. I'm just hoping you love it, Mike. You know how much Mom loved you. So, and I took me out. You'll be so glad of that.
Well, I even thought that was kind of cute though, because I totally related to you in that picture, simply because as a kid, my eyes were so sensitive to light. And
Yeah.
but you know what? I know based on what you were saying, Linda, that you wanted this to be for your brother, and so yes, Mike, I hope you enjoy this painting.
Yes,
your sister is like the best sister ever.
Ever, don't forget.
Ever, and she wanted to give this to you as a gift. So,
Yes.
there you go.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
Painting small has its challenges, and this is just a 6x8. See, there's my head. So this is just a 6x8, but it was still blown up considerably bigger than the original photograph, which was about this big. So I think it worked out fine. And using just the sepia tones, just using sepia, titanium white, and making just a basic value, gradient of values, I was able to kind of knock this out. And so you saw how I started in the video. I just started with wiping out areas and then put in the dark values and built from there. There were some corrections that needed to be made, and I was so glad to have my client be able to come by today and let me know where, it needed to be tweaked, because of course I had never met her mother, so I really didn't know what she looked like, and I was only going by the photo reference in really extreme light. And this is why the child and the little girl in the front, which is Linda, she wanted me to take her out. They were trying to keep the sun out of their eyes. They're looking into direct light. And so, yeah, everybody's squinting or has their eyes shut. And I told her I could totally relate to that. But there you go. I hope you enjoyed today's video. And happy birthday, Mike, to you. And thank you, Linda, for the opportunity to do this little piece. This was a fun one. And so if you enjoyed today's video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing if you're not already a subscriber. And until next time, I'll see ya. Bye.